Hello all. Thank you for attending this webinar on Balanced Assessment System for SAT. This is the first out of 3 webinars on BAS, the Balanced Assessment System. On this webinar, we will talk about the content-specific Balanced Assessment module. We have 2 more the modules which will be covered next. The second one will be on the next month, December 18th, and that will be around reporting and data literacy, and then the final module will be around connecting assessment to curriculum and instruction, which will be held on January 23rd of next year. So this is the first module. The purpose of this module is to provide an overview of the 3 types of assessment: formative, interim, and summative, that are parts of Delaware Balanced Assessment System. On this webinar, we will go over the resources that are available for each type of assessment. Okay, so starting with the first slide. First, let's define what is Balanced Assessment System. So in 2015, when the Every Student Succeeds Act was established, it emphasized the need for a balanced assessment system. For the purpose of this course, we are defining Balanced Assessment System, or BAS, as a set of interconnected assessments that meets the needs of all educational stakeholders for common purpose of improving education. Balanced assessment systems provide accurate and timely information about student achievement and learning to individual students, teachers, school and district administrators, as well as local, state, and federal policymakers. More importantly, they encourage and support learning by helping students and teachers see that their continued efforts will result in success. When you utilize accurate day-to-day classroom assessments added with the quality curriculum and instruction decisions, along with the balance of high-quality standardized tests, you now have a balanced assessment system that will effectively promote student learning. Okay, so this graphic shows the Balanced Assessment System model for the state of Delaware. Notice that each assessment type is color-coded for clarity on how each is integrated. Formative assessments are the purple strand, are the most used resources and are ongoing all year long. Benchmark assessments are indicated in green and occur at multiple points throughout the year and are used for classrooms and district levels. Interim assessment, which are shown in blue, are typically given by the school district 2 or 3 times a year. And then the last item showing in orange is a statewide assessment that are only given once a year. Also, as mentioned previously in this model, formative and benchmark assessments are assessments for learning, whereas interims, summatives, including state testings, are assessment of learning. Okay, moving on to the different types of assessment, starting with formative assessment. The definition of formative assessment is a multiple-step interactive process in which students and teachers engage in instructional activities, gather evidence of learning, and use feedback to adjust teaching and improve learning in real time. These are ongoing and used daily to focus lesson plans and individual student needs. Formative assessments are administered by teachers only, for the explicit purpose of diagnosing whether the students are in learning and where the gaps in knowledge and understanding exist. They are small scale and minute by minute to provide immediate feedback. Okay, So moving on to the next type of assessment, we will discuss which will be benchmark and the interim assessments. Benchmark assessments are for recently taught materials, such as unit, chapters, semesters for grades, and our monitor progress towards learning goals, which includes test content, follow district, school, and our classroom curriculum pacing. Interim assessments are general achievements measured to monitor progress towards end of year goals and identify student or curricular areas needing additional attention, and content covers full year standards. Interims are very similar to benchmark, though interims are used 2 or 3 times a year and administered by school districts, and benchmark testing occurs more frequently and are given by classroom teachers and district-wide. These assessments are designed to serve instructional purposes that should provide results that enable educators to adapt the curriculum or better meet student needs. Okay, now let's discuss the definition of summative assessment. So summative assessments are the ones which are any type of assessments that occur after instruction to document achievement. It also is a measure of students' proficiency in a subject and are against state standards. Summative are an assessment of learning rather than for learning as formatives. Statewide tests are summative as well. However, they are used for the purpose of accountability for state and federal requirement. Summative assessments in the classrooms are intended to check what students know and can do that demonstrate what they have acquired over longer periods of time and not based on instruction that just took place. These assessments are used for grading purposes. Summative assessments at the state level may be used for accountability purposes, but are also a great source of information for educators in understanding their student performance to help guide instruction. For example, if a teacher looks at a smarter balance assessment, they can correlate students' performance scores to how well they did for each claim. And this might be true for SAT or any other assessment. They can look for each claim and target that provides teachers with the knowledge of a certain target. If a certain target was not met by a greater number of students, that may be an indication of an area of focus instruction, or look further to see if the model of the test question aligns to teaching methods implemented. Okay, moving on to the next slide. At the Delaware Department of Education, within each of the accountability assessments, we have included a BAS model for the teaching and learning process, assisting all stakeholders in supporting student learning and helping students promote their own growth. The models are interactive with links embedded for help with further understanding and usage. Each model follows a color-coded system that we talked about for formative, interim, and summative assessments. And if you have any questions about each model at the end of the presentation, you can contact the assigned contact person for each model. That will be listed towards the end of the presentation. Okay, so this is the SAT BAS model. As you can see, there are 3 different stages or 3 different categories. The first category is for PSAT 10. PSAT 10 is a predictor of success on SAT. It follows the same scale and same format as SAT. PSAT 10, just like SAT, is provided statewide by DOE. Results of PSAT 10 link to Khan Academy can be used to create a custom level student plan, which can be used to analyze area of focus for that student. Okay, and moving on to the links, as we discussed, these are the links that are the resources for each assessment. We will begin with the PSAT 10, the very first link, prepare for 2019 PSAT 10. So when you click on that link, it will take you right here. Okay. All right, so prepare for 2019 PSAT 10 guide is available in College Board. The same document that you're looking at. The contents of this guide is understanding of what is PSAT 10, what is a timeline on when the PSAT 10 should be taken, the skills or the contents which are going to be tested for this assessment, how to prepare for PSAT 10, and there are some sample PSAT 10 questions and resources as well. Okay, so some of the key facts for PSAT 10 is PSAT 10, like we discussed in the previous slide, prepares student towards CCR or college and career readiness. Both PSAT 10 and PSAT NMSQT. By the way, NMSQT stands for National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. Both of the tests are administered at different time frames. So PSAT NMSQT for 2019 was administered on 16th of October of 2019, and PSAT 10 generally has a window. The window for 2020 PSAT 10 starts from February 26th through March 11th, 2020 for the state of Delaware. Also, both PSAT 10 and PSAT NMSQT test the same skills and knowledge as SAT. Many scholarships are associated with PSAT 10. The test length for PSAT 10 is 2 hours and 45 minutes, and the score ranges are from 320 through 1520 for the overall test. And we will compare the time length and the score ranges side by side with SAT in the coming slides. Like we mentioned earlier, PSAT 10 is aligned to SAT. There are free practice tests available on Khan Academy, and there are also these are the tests that can be personalized as per the requirement of student. We will talk about that as well in the coming slides. Okay, so moving on, we talked about the window of the testing. For Delaware, it's going to be from February 26th through March 11th of 2019 for PSAT 10. Okay, moving on to the skills that are tested for PSAT 10. There are 3 contents that are going to be tested that the student will be testing. The first one is reading, writing, and language test, and math test. I'm going to skip the remaining of the slides as they are to do with each content area specific, which are very much alike, the same as the other assessment. SAT and SBAC also have the 3 contents, but you are welcome to read through these slides. We will jump on slide number 16, and this is to do with content and domain alignment. All tests in SAT suite of assessment, which includes PSAT 8-9, PSAT 10, PSAT NMSQT, and SAT, are aligned to same research backbone and focuses on same domain of knowledge and skills. The scoring for individual content area differs by assessment to assessment. For SAT, individual content area score ranges from 200 to 800. For PSAT 10 and PSAT NMSQT, the score ranges from 160 to 760. And for PSAT 8-9, the scale score ranges from 120 through 720 for individual content area. Okay, moving on to slide 18. This is a slide where you can compare side-by-side PSAT and MSQT and PSAT 10 versus SAT in terms of time length of the testing and in terms of the scale score. So as you can see, for PSAT 10 and PSAT and MSQT, the time length is 2 hours and 45 minutes, whereas for SAT, the time length of the test is 3 hours and 50 minutes. Essay is not included in PSAT or PSAT 10, PSAT and MSQT or PSAT 10, but essay is optional for SAT. And then the scale score range, we already talked about that, ranges from 160 through 760 for PSAT and MSQT and PSAT 10, and ranges from 200 through 800 for SAT. Okay, moving on to how to prepare for PSAT 10. This is when we are going to be talking about the different resources which are available in Khan Academy, in College Board website. So moving on, so this is where we will go to the next slide. The PSAT 10 score report. This contains information to help students improve academic skills. It lists the skills that students have the best chance of improving with additional work, and it connects to personalized practice recommendations on Khan Academy. So some of the we can see one of the score report if I can. Okay, let's see the next topic here. And these are the samples, and we will circle back on the score report in just a minute. We can open up one of the score report and show how it looks like. So these are the samples for PSAT 10 sample questions of where the test the sample question of how the individual content area sample looks like. You can always read through the slides, but for the purpose of this meeting, we will skip these sample questions and we will move on to slide 38, which is the resources for all the sample questions. You can find the general information regarding PSAT 10 on the College Board site. The link is provided here, thecollegeboard.org /PSAT. You can find the scholarship opportunities and the information regarding scholarship also in the College Board site. The link is provided also here, psat.org /scholarships, or regarding the personalized official SAT practice based on PSAT 10 scores, that is available on khanacademy.org /SAT, and also PSAT 10 practice test are available on College Board. You can follow the link right here. Okay, so talking about the personalized, one of the personalized the practice the score report of a student. Let's go and take a look at it and see if we can open that one. Okay. Here. Okay, so this is how it looks like. You can access the report, and once you have the score report, you can see the student score, overall score, broken down by content area. And Khan Academy provides you all these key links. Links to to use as part of the resources. For example, you can use free Khan Academy SAT Prep link. This is where you're able to create a personalized SAT study plan based on the questions that the student missed on PSAT and MSQT or PSAT 10. And this is how the score report looks like by contents. the student or the educator can see for the student how many questions were there in total by content and how many questions were incorrect and how many were correct. This helps to create a focused testing area for the student, depending on which area is the student requires most attention in. So this gives all kind of details that we can use for practices, and the resources are all available on College Board site and Khan Academy site. Okay, moving on to the next link, the practice test. The practice test for PSAT 10 is available on College Board. If you click on this link, it will take you to right here. This is where you will find the practice test and the resources for PSAT 10 and PSAT NMSQT. You can go through all the instructions, and as you can see, there are some practice test materials available right here. Okay, moving on to the next link. You can follow the links right here to go to the sample questions on College Board or Khan Academy PSAT practice test. The links are all provided over here. We will talk a little bit more about how to track class progress for PSAT 10. So when you click this link, excuse me, it will take you to this page. And this is where educators can use the official SAT practice coaching tools to track progress for entire classes, making it easier to support students before test day. You can complete the SAT practice e-module. Once you do that, you will be able to you will have a lot of functionalities where you can use to the SAT to conduct SAT practices for your classroom. This site also provides you the implementation guide, for the teacher or coach. It also provides the official SAT practice implementation options and how to host a practice test. So if you click, for example, how to host a practice test, you will see a lot of details. As you can see it right here, it will give you a lot of good information that you can gather. You can get all helpful tips and all the information which are required. Okay, now there was a study that College Board did to study the correlation between PSAT 10 and SAT. For the group of the students that they study, the study concluded that students who regularly use PSAT 10 and use the resources to practice for PSAT 10, on an average, those students show an average of 200 points gain from PSAT 10 to SAT. So the correlation proves that PSAT 10 is definitely a predictor of success on SAT, and therefore it is students should be highly encouraged, and teachers are encouraged to provide the testing, the practice test to the students, so the students can practice on a regular basis, and educators are encouraged to track the progress of the student and help the student that way. Okay. Now coming to the summative portion of the assessment, which is the SAT. You can click on these links to get the detailed information. Most of the informations are redundant, some of them which we already talked about. So for example, practice tests and SAT tests. All of these materials are available on Khan Academy on College Board site. You can get sample questions for individual content area, writing, math, and essay. But most importantly, you can also have the access to SAT Educator Guide. So we will briefly talk about the Educator Guide. So this is how it looks like. Just like we talked about for PSAT 10, this guide gives you a lot of good information. If you go in the content page, you can categorize. You can directly go to the areas that you are looking to to get more information. So one of the areas that you can take a look and do some information gathering is regarding the services for students with disabilities and accommodations, because there are a lot of the questions around accommodations and how to raise the accommodations and on the College Board site. Those informations are available on this guide, and you can definitely go through it through these level of information. Okay, with that said, that concludes all the resources which are in these assessments, both interim and summative. We will move on to the next slide. Okay, so to review our definition of a balanced assessment system, balanced assessment system is the interconnected assessments that are used in the state of Delaware and how they're implemented to meet the needs of educational stakeholders to best improve educational practices. Excuse me. Now, what are the differences between assessment types within balanced assessment system? Formative assessments are designed to inform teaching and learning by providing specific, immediate, and actionable feedback through a process of continuously gathering evidence of student learning that are student and classroom centered and answer the question of what comes next for student learning. Interim and benchmark assessments are to monitor student progress towards longer-term goals by providing multiple data points across time through assessment administered at specific intervals during the academic year that are classroom, schools, and district-centered, and also answer the question, what progress are students making? Is the program working? Summative assessments are designed to evaluate learning relative specific learning standards or goals by providing an overall description of the student learning status through statewide, district, or classroom standardized assessments that are school, district, and state-centered, and are also to answer the question, to what extent did our student meet the learning standards? Finally, we hope by using the state of Delaware's overall balanced assessment system model and each of the content area models, you now have a greater understanding of the different assessment types that help to support student learning and allow students to promote their own growth. As we briefly mentioned in the beginning of the call, this webinar is a three-part webinar, and this was the first one, which was primarily focused on content-specific balance assessment. The next webinar will be held on December 18th. The upcoming webinar on December 18th will be primarily focused on reporting and data literacy, and then we will have another and the final webinar on January 23rd, which will be focused mainly towards connecting assessment to curriculum and instruction. Okay, and these are the details of the webinars, upcoming webinars that you can take a look at. Also, on the top of that, the Delaware DDOE is launching 2 Schoology courses in an effort to support LEAs with assessment, literacy, and balanced assessment systems. Balanced assessment course number 28426 and Fundamental of Assessment Literacy, course number 28427. And finally, this is the list of all the contacts for individual assessment for SAT and PSAT, and along with VITA and Access, I'll be your point of contact. Once again, my name is Samir Tiwari. You can always reach out to me with any of your questions regarding PSAT, SAT, or VITA and Access. My email information is provided right here. Thank you so much for joining this call, and I hope you find this webinar helpful. Have a great rest of the day.